Yeah.
I show you my pineapple.
Whee!
You haven't grown that, have you?
It's one of these. Someone gave me the plant for my birthday last year. They're like miniature pineapples, and they just sit there. It's the most ridiculously expensive plant, and it's sat there for about 12 months, but it's finally ripe and popped off. I don't know what you do with it.
You eat it now.
I keep it as an ornament.
I am doing a fruit salad, but by the time you've cut the spikes off, there'd be much left. I just was tickle pink this morning. Anyway, I'm so glad because I think the plant is so ugly. I'm really glad it's gone. Sorry, say nothing.
Now, which American city is very fond of pineapples? Minneapolis.
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 Oh, very good, very good.
Hi, Sandy.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
Sandy.
Hi.
Stephen's grandmother, bless her, used to put, tinned fruit salad.
Oh, yeah.
She used to put that in fruit pies, which are always a bit weird.
Ooh, yes. Ooh.
When you go to hotels and they've got a range of things, I always really like the tinned grapefruit that they have.
Yes,
Yeah.
so not supposed to eat it, but yeah.
I like tinned prunes. Does anyone like tinned prunes?
Yeah,
Oh,
I have them every week.
Uh.
I buy a tin every week in juice.
But I once,
I put them on the porridge on top of
Oh, no, that'd be good. Yeah. I once got recently, well, not recently, about last year or so, got a tin of grapefruit just to see what it was like. And it's not the same as having it in a bowl in a hotel.
In a hotel, no.
Anyway. Right, I'm going to crack on with palindromes. It won't take too long, then we can start talking again. Let's have a look. Palindromes. So I think everybody's familiar with them. Interestingly, palindrome is not itself a palindrome, of course, because then it would be palindrome emodnilap. But it's a word, number, of phrase or other sequence of characters that reads the same backwards as forwards, such as madam or race car. Right? So I think everybody's familiar with them, just in case you've not come across the terms. And there are lots of different types of them. There are numeric palindromes, such as you can use short digits like the 11th of the 11th, 11th, that's 11:11 a.m. and long digits 0202 2020. And then you can have year palindromes, and there's only one of those per century apparently. So the last one was in 2002. The one before that was quite recent, before that 1991, and the next one I suppose is 2112. That's a numeric palindrome. Now this is the Sator square, which is one of the first written palindromes, and it was found at Herculaneum, a city buried by ash in 79 of what they call now the Common Era, as opposed to AD, because it's not got religious connotations, I suppose. And what's the one before CE? It's not before Christ now. It's not BC. It's something else. I've forgotten what it is now. Anybody know? No. It's called the Sator square, and it consists of a sentence written in Latin, Sator arepo tenet opera rotas, which, for those whose Latin's a bit rusty, the soa arepo holds with effort the wheels. And the interesting thing about it is that the first letter of each word forms the first word, the second letters form the second word, and so forth. Hence, it can be arranged into a word square that reads in 4 different ways, horizontally or vertically from either top left to bottom or bottom right to left. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty amazing for 79.
Clever.
Yeah. So I'd never heard of that before, and that's the first one that's kind of actually come out. Well, it was written in stone, I suppose. And this was a medieval riddle in Latin. It could have been older Latin, but they think it was medieval times. Ingerium imus nocte et consumimur igni, which is the same backwards if you look at it. We go in a circle at night and are consumed by the fire. And what is the answer to the riddle?
Moths.
Drives the behavior of moths. You're quite right.
Gosh.
And then there are literary palindromes. John Taylor, poet. This is one of the first specifically written in English. Lewd did I live, and evil I did dwell. Nice one. And then somebody only known as JTR. Able was I, ere I saw Elba. Now, that gained a bit of fame because people thought that Napoleon had written it. But of course he hadn't. And this is the most I think the most famous palindrome of them all, and one which I really like because it seems to tell a little story. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. And we had that as one of the questions in one of the quizzes recently. I think it was called Ferdinand de Lesseps, wasn't he? Who designed the Panama Canal and also the other one. Anyway. And then, of course, there's another one, Madam, I'm Adam. And here's another one I quite like, never odd or even.
Oh, that's clever.
Which has a sort of kind of symbolic similarity as well.
Mm.
Anyway, A Man, a Plan, a Canal, Panama first appeared only in 1948, though it's thought it's much older in the Yale Book of Quotations. Then in 1983, Jim Sachs added a cat to the list, creating A Man, a Plan, a Cat, a Canal, Panama. Then somebody else, a couple of years later, said A Man, a Plan, a Cam, a Yak, a Yam, a Canal, Panama. Then A Man, a Plan, a Cat, a Ham, a Yak, a Yam, a Hat, a Camel, Canal, Panama. Then it became ridiculous. It's even got things like I don't know why, but my eyes immediately went to an anus. I don't know why, but anyway, there you go. But in 1984, Dan Huey was a computer programmer and using a Unix spelling dictionary, generated a 540-word Panama palindrome. It doesn't read quite so well as the others because the simple program allowed it abstract nouns and mass nouns like a 10, a salt and wax to come in. But I mean, I think at that point, this is also called Recreational Mathematics. Things like this. And goes on to poets and mathematicians. Peter Hilton's Doc, note, I dissent. A fast never prevents a fatness. I diet on cod. Which is, they have because they're actually straining to get into palindrome, they're both kind of sensible and weird at the same time, aren't they? And this one I do like, and it's made me think, and I've actually told this when people talk about T.S. Eliot. Do you know why he bothered with the S in Eliot? In T. Eliot? Because when you spell his name backwards, T. Eliot, it's toilet. And he people had to go over to him at school. That's totally invented by me, by the way, that. Anyway, T. Eliot, top bard, notes putrid tang emanating is sad. I'd assign it it's a name, nat dirt upset on drab pot toilet. Well, I mean, that's just weird, isn't it, really? Then you get those palindromes which consist of a sentence or a phrase, like Mr. Owl ate my metal worm, which again has a sort of odd sort of sense to it. Do geese see God? Was it a car or a cat I saw?
Clever.
Murder for a jar of red rum. Red rum was always a well-known one, wasn't it? Because people used to say that about red rum, the horse, that it was murder backwards. And go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog. Which again is a bit weird. Then there are those where they mostly use ignore capitalization and spaces, but some include the spaces that are equal. So rats live on no evil star. It's got all the spaces in as well. Live on time, emit no evil, and step on no pets. Always a good thing to not do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Universal Palindrome Day, which was on the 2nd of February 2020. The date 2020-2022 is a palindrome, 2002, well, 2020, 2000, I can't get it there. Anyway, is a palindrome regardless of the date format by country, year, month, day, month, and so on, used in various countries. Hence, this date has also been termed as the Universal Palindrome Day. Well, I'm sure you all held that during lockdown.
It's the day after my husband's birthday, so of course I didn't forget.
Well, of course. Then there are loads of palindromic place names. If you think of it, Adavan, Nevada, is only works because you've got Nevada. It's from Nevada, as does Adanac, Canada. Canada has quite a lot of them, amazingly. I was going to tell Duncan that. And then there's in South Carolina, there's Wasamazor. Wasamazor? Whatever you pronounce it. Now, this is where it tends to get a bit more complicated. And this is what they call recreational mathematics, which mathematicians get up to when they're not doing things that are very serious. Now, a Lycral number, and it's named because the guy who invented it wanted to name it after his girlfriend, who was called Rachel, and didn't quite make it with the Lycral. But anyway, there you go. It's a natural number that cannot form a palindrome through the process of repeatedly reversing its digits and adding the resulting numbers. Are you still with me? Probably not. This process is sometimes called the 196 algorithm, after the most famous number associated with the process. So, for example, 56 becomes palindromic after one iteration. That is, 56 plus its reverse, 65, equals 121, which is a palindrome. It's the same backwards. Kind of get it? Kind of.
Yeah. Clever.
Yeah, you've got to think about it a bit, but it is there. Get any number, then you reverse it, and then you add it, and see how many goes of doing that. You keep going, so the next number, if it's not a palindrome, you keep going till it becomes a palindrome. Well, 196 is the only number they found which never reaches a palindrome. And in February 2015, a Frenchman, Robin Dolbe, calculated that he reached a number with 1 billion digits and still had not found a palindrome. So it seems to be the only Lycral number that has been found. Well, I find that kind of weirdly interesting, but you've got to be really strange to be that interested in it, I think.
You have to have better things to do, sure.
Yes, it makes you think, get a life, get a life. Then you get phonetic ones, which is a portion of speech that's identical when reversed, such as easy, and that's how it sounds, not how it's spelt. Then funny enough, and you're damn mad, Roy, which I think is like that Succession program that they had on Sky. They did about that. Anyway, but this was when a guy used the audio tape versions of the cut-up technique used by William Burroughs. I don't know if you remember that. He cut up all his phrases, throw them up into the air and see which order they landed in, and published it that way, which I think he did Naked Lunch like that. And it rises in language. You'll know about this, Jackie. In French, there is something called verlan. Do you know what that is?
No, but Bill might.
It's a slang dialect where people reverse parts of words or words. So an Arab would become bur, Urab, bur. You know, in verlan. It's a type of French slang, anyway. I thought you might be interested in that, but you didn't. I thought you knew about it. Here's the one that I'm hoping Bill might know about, which is in classical music. So, for example, Haydn's Symphony No. 7 in G is nicknamed
47.
Yeah.
47.
Yeah. So did I say something else? 47 in G.
Yeah.
In which is not itself a palindrome. In the third movement of minuet and a trio, the second half of the minuet is the same as the first, but backwards. The second half of the ensuing trio similarly reflects the first half, and then the minuet is repeated. Well, I don't know what it sounds like, but it sounds complicated. Do you know much about this, Bill? Oh.
I see why.
Yes.
That's the opening
see that.
measure of it.
And apparently also the interlude from Alban Berg's opera Lulu, which if you added Lulu again might be, oh no, it'd be all, wouldn't it? Is a palindrome.
Yay! Oh gosh.
If it was lull, it would work. That, which I didn't know either. I don't know the opera. I don't know what it's like particularly. And it's also used by many other composers, including Bela Bartok. So it is something that, again, not many classical composers use, but has been used as a particular form of...
Yeah, there's do you actually want to hear something that Hindemith wrote a one-act opera. He was bet that he couldn't do musical palindrome, and he wrote a thing called Hin et Zurück, which means out and back. And it's a 12-minute, I'm not going to force you to listen to 12 minutes of Hindemith, but and the story is a palindrome and the music is exactly a palindrome. So it goes halfway and then he writes it backwards for the end of the piece, and it's quite bombastic and quite fun. If you want to hear a couple of minutes, I'll play it to you.
Yeah, go on, give us a couple of minutes of it.
Oh, hey, a couple of minutes.
You need to
Can I
share,
please? Okay. Now then, here we go. Come on then. Let's make sure I've got the right bit as well. Boom. Go on. Anyway, it kind of goes on like that for 12 minutes. But it's quite interesting. It's this dream, and then when he actually reverses it, he actually just got a copyist to copy the front part of the score backwards. So that was it. Matisse the painter, just some wonderful stuff. But
does the film go backwards as well? Does the action in the film work backwards?
Yeah, I wondered that.
I'm not sure
no.
that.
I actually watched it through last night, and it doesn't go backwards. It should have done, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I throw in a couple of Welsh palindromes?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Yma ami. Uma means come here, and ami, and it's one of those phrases that people use on a daily basis when they're saying about, oh, get lost, or think about it, or they'll say umami. And the other one is tidamamadita, and tidama is another way of saying and it's to do with animals. Come here and leave that alone. Tidamamadita. So, and it's in everyday language.
How is your Welsh?
They play with them. Dayang. No, it's okay. I don't speak absolutely fluently, but I can hold conversations. It's not a problem, my dear.
I'm just going to finish this off anyway because I'm in there. So can you see that? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah, we've been there.
Just as a final one is the long palindromes. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, it's the onomatopoeic tataratatat, coined by James Joyce in Ulysses for a knock on the door, which is fair enough, isn't it? It's kind of the word used. Well, no, I'd say tatatat, but anyway, but they tataratatat made it to the Guinness Book of Records. So, no, it didn't, because they've got the actual word as detartrated, meaning to remove tartrates, which is a kind of chemical term. Though I think an interesting one is the thing that was a trade name and now is used for anything that churns soil up, a rotavator, which is a nice backward word as well. But according to the World Records, the Finnish 19-letter word Saipurki vaka aupias, a soapstone vendor, is the world's longest palindromic word in everyday use.
Excellent, Bernard. Did you have to practice?
No, I didn't. I didn't have a go at that. Let's stop staring now. And that is that. I'm just going to view gallery so I can see everybody.
Would you like another musical palindrome?
Go on then.
Yeah. It's a rhythmic palindrome. It's the same going out as it is coming back.
So is it actually the same? It doesn't sound, is it? Do it again.
No, if you think about the rhythms, pum, pa, 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 pa. It's a rhythmic palindrome.
Right. Good one. I like that. That's not...
Could go on all day like this.
No, I think we've had enough of palindromes.
Yeah.
Well, that Sator square thing, whatever it's called, I don't know. One of the words is tenet. I don't know, is that how you pronounce it? There's a film called that,
tenet, yes.
Isn't there? And I know, Christine, you've seen it, haven't you? Because apparently they use the words from that palindrome square as names for the characters, and they behave in those ways. I just looked it up last night because I thought, I don't know what one of those things is that you mentioned. And it was used for the film, the words from that square.
I came across this poem last night. It's only very short in this book that I got for Christmas. And it's called Tea with the Poet. And I thought I found it quite interesting. Okay. We are going to tea with a poet. Confidence is poured out, one lump or two, milk, and passed round the table. Hot toasted paragraphs, dripping with melted adjectives, sentences with the crust neatly cut off, a tempting selection of metaphors. Must watch the figure, laid out on a plate for us to choose from. It is tea time with the poet. A second cup? Certainly. Pass the haiku. A villanelle? Go on, spoil yourself. Sure you haven't got room for a sonnet? Oh, very well. Time to go. He brushes up a few commas from the tablecloth and with a polite semicolon shows us to the door.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
It was wonderful. Has anybody heard that before?
No,
Has
it's
anybody heard
good.
it before?
No, no.
Yes, I think
Very
it's
clever one.
pretty cool, really. If you like.
Yeah.
Who's it by, Lorraine?
It's by somebody called Adrian Henry. Adrian
Henry.
Henry.
One of the Mersey poets, isn't he?
Is he?
Adrian Henry. Adrian Henry.
Oh, well, I thought because it's spelt like Henry, I thought maybe that's how you pronounced it, Adrian Henry. Yeah, it's really, I thought it was really good, really clever. And I wrote one myself on Friday night. I'll read you this one.
Come on then.
Yeah, this might make you smile. Nigel went out for a beer with his friend on Friday night, and it's called 11.8%. 11.8%, he said as he stepped through the door last night. The final beer of the evening. He seemed a little tight. With a goofy grin, he told me of dark chocolate with coconut hints, the best he'd ever tasted. Gave his eyes the squints. They sold the stuff in thirds, he said, but he'd ordered a half to try. My word, but it was lovely. He winked. I thought, aye, aye. From far across the sofa, he held my hand a while, but I, suffused with COVID, could only nod and smile.
Oh,
Clever.
The alternative title is What Beer Can Do to a Man.
We'll see.
That looks like a great sofa, Helen, if you can hear us. Can you pull out a bit so we can have a look? Or tell us to mind our own business if you don't want to.
Hi, Helen, can you hear us?
Yeah, so, sorry, Helen, that was Bill speaking. Well, me now. That was Bernard before.
Yeah, that was me before. And
Yeah,
next it will
now,
be
now that's him. That's him now. And it's me now, okay?
Helen,
Right.
can you hear us? Is this pattern a palindrome? Is that why we're looking at it?
Oh, it could be.
Ah.
Yes, she
Hey!
said.
Well
my
done.
brains are in the
Clever Jackie.
Very clever.
Clever Helen.
Gosh. Oh, brilliant. So, Gray, are you working on a palindromic or palindramic poem now? Looks you.
In a word, no. I'm just thinking about palindromes.
Right.
My only connection with palindromes is when I was about 11 or 12. We used to get bus tickets, and you used to look at it, and very occasionally you would get a palindromic number recorded on the top of your ticket, and these were incredibly valuable, and we used to swap them and save them, and I've got a palindrome, like you found the secret of life or something. But so when you're 11 or 12, it's really exciting, and I had a long bus journey to school, so it was something to do.
It was very moist on the the top deck. We'd stick the ticket onto it, and the print would come off, and you'd peel it off, and there would be the details of the ticket on that.
I hate these children who throw soft tissues in the boys' toilets in the primary school, and you go in there and hanging off the ceiling.
The final one was we used to get tickets from the one that was they were like real little tickets on some buses, and we'd fold those over, we collect them and make them into little concertinas.